with that, I want to welcome Rob. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We are so excited to have you here, not only in our space, but in Portland. I think, it's been an interesting onboarding because you joined the club a little bit later in the preseason. So we're really happy to have you here now. And kind of get this welcome so that we can welcome you to not only Portland, but to the Thorns, to the Riveters, to our culture. So we're really excited about this event. I don't know if you want to just tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I can do like a short. And obviously, I met you very quickly when we played at Seattle here. That was my 4th day in the city, I think. So there was a good start. But I'm from Sweden. Played when I was younger. Coached first in the men's game, then in the women's game in a team called Beko Häcken, one of the best teams in Sweden. And then I had some good seasons there, and then I moved to London and coached Tottenham. So I had a good season and a terrible season, and then I got fired there. So, but the good thing with that was that I kind of was outside jobs, and I was doing my research to see where I can end up in the next job. And when I did my research in the US, there was a few clubs that were standing out. And I think basically when you look at Portland's history, it's obviously you've won a lot, right? But it's also when you see the fan base. So when I saw what you're doing in this stadium and what people were telling me to do, like when Portland was firing the former coach and said like they're gonna go for a new coach, I was like, told my agent, I want that job. So it's kind of like, so I was really scouting this team last season, and I think there was some really good talent at the games last year as well. But obviously there was some ups and downs, and we have it now as well. But very excited to be here and doing this journey because we are still in the beginning of it, I would say. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So to kind of piggyback off of that, welcome to the NWSL.
Is that mine?
Oh, sorry, Darren. Was it me moving? Okay. We'll get this sorted, I promise. With your first year in the NWSL, your first dozen matches or so, what would you say makes this league different, and why did you want to come to this league versus any of the other leagues around the world, or just kind of what attracted you to the NWSL?
I think it's because it's so competitive. In England, you know that the top teams will be these teams and the middle teams will be these teams because the budget is so different. Here in the US, everybody has the same salary cap. Obviously, it's a big country, the US, and I think the fan base and all stadiums and what's happening in the US the last years has been amazing. And I think the most fun thing is to compete. And I think every game here, you need to compete. You don't really know what to expect when you fly all over the country and play these teams. And I think you need to be very sharp. You need to learn from your mistakes, and you need to learn quickly because otherwise you start losing games. So I think you want to be in the best league as a coach, and this is the best league. So that's why I want to be here. And I think also that's the best place to be in the women's game because it's only women's teams. It's not like in Europe when you have a men's team and a women's team, and you always kind of are the second team because the men's team is always coming first. Here is the women's team, and we are focusing on the female players, and I love that. It's so much more focus on this product, which I love.
And that is a new change for us here in Portland. Now we have a dedicated ownership group, and we're not playing that second fiddle role, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's incredible. So the first area I really wanted to get into was the identity of the Portland Thorns. We're one of the founding clubs in the NWSL, but we've kind of had a lot of different identities over the last 13, 14 years. Wanted to get your sense of how would you define the Portland Thorns identity, or what does it mean to play like the Portland Thorns? What does that mean to you?
It's a good question. When I look back at history and you have all these amazing players who played there with Lindsay Heaps and all the national team players, I get that you were a winning team with the superstars. I think now when the league is so competitive, it's hard to have a whole team with superstars. You cannot afford it. You need to have one or two, which we are having. And I think it's more like this club is connected to you guys. When we play at home, you can see that we are performing so good because you are with us. And I think that the thing is that we try to have an identity where we play more of what you like to see. And when I judge what you want to see is when I hear you scream and shout. So when I know that we get that ball in behind and Sofia is running, I can hear you scream, and that's what we want to do more of. Obviously, you want to win. So I'm trying to connect an intense game a play, like when you feel like it's an exciting game, but also know that we need to win because you want to win, right? So it's a mixture of trying to play for you and what makes you thrilled, and also make sure we win the games. So you will not see us play some boring, tiki-taka football and just keep the ball, because I don't hear you then. I want to make sure we break the lines and we are attacking and we are pressing. So we try to find a way where you feel like you're entertained and that we're winning.
Excellent. So that kind of maybe starts the answer for my next question, which is around consistency. And what should we expect from the team every week, regardless of the score? That could be home or away. I think you've mentioned already a bit of the roller coaster that we've experienced. Both, we've had several weeks on the road where we haven't been able to make those connections. What's your vision for that consistency that you're hoping to achieve?
I think as we want to be a winning team, we need to have a consistency in how we act when we are, no matter winning and losing, that we fight to the end, that we give everything we can to make sure that we do everything to win the game. And if we lose the game, we want to make sure that you feel like we gave it all, that you feel like, okay, they tried everything they could, but they didn't win today because of this and that. It shouldn't be that you tell us that we lost because we looked fatigued or we didn't try. So I want to make sure we are consistent in that. I can never promise you that we win every game, because it's impossible in this league to promise that. We aim for that. But I do think it's what we want to bring is more consistent performances, so we can be a top team over time. We didn't have any preseason this year because I came directly to DC and played the first game, and I think we're still lacking consistency in phases of the game because we haven't worked with everything yet because we didn't have the preseason. We have a young roster. We lost Sam Coffey. We lost Sinclair for a couple of years ago. We don't really have those leaders yet. We are trying to create those leaders through the journey. I think Olivia Moultrie is one of those who is only 20, but she will grow into that. Sophia Wilson is 25. She's one of the assistants. Jessie Fleming. So we have potential good leaders, but we don't have that one who you had before was kind of like the rocks. So the consistency will come when they also are feeling like they can handle the pressure, because it's a pressure environment. But right now we are still inconsistent sometimes in the games. I hope you like the Gotham game, because I felt like that was a step forward to look very good against one of the best teams in the league as well. So that was a good game, but still we are not good in the first minutes and we are considering a corner. But you should expect us to fight to the end and make sure that we give it all until everything, but don't expect us to win every game, but to try and give everything to do that.
We'll still expect you to win every game.
Yeah,
that absolutely is going to be part of our expectations.
I like that though. I like that.
That's part of the pressure. That's the mutual pressure that we'll create. You've mentioned a couple times about Providence Park and about Portland. What about the home field identity are you trying to take on the road with you? Because I've been to several away matches this year, and it feels like a different club that's on the road versus being in Providence Park. How do you, from a coach standpoint, kind of motivate the team to try to bring that same energy or that same passion?
We actually had a workshop around that before the Denver game, kind of like what's the concrete stuff we can do to make sure that it looks and feels more like Providence Park. So it's in the warm-up, in the locker room. We bring the same music that we listen to here. We bring that. We bring a few things from our locker room here that we bring to that locker room to make sure we have the same signs and everything. We try to basically pep and push us to make sure we get louder, because we don't have you guys all the time in the away games. So we're trying to find ways to make sure we feel like home when we are away. But to be honest, when you're not there, we're not going to feel the same. So we need to find ourselves to trick the system. Denver away was 95 degrees and it was so hot, and it was their first game at their stadium. So they had that adventure. I think we need to learn as well how to be a little bit more street smart in those games, to make sure we need to play more for just winning that game and bring the points back to you guys, instead of just trying to play exactly the same way as home, because the artificial grass and this stadium with you there is differences. And I think, flying all over to the East Coast and time differences, I'm learning in this country that you need to be adaptable. So that's what I'm learning. But we're trying to bring as much as possible to make sure it feels like home.
Yeah. It definitely, that's one thing that really separates us from other leagues across the world, is the distance that the teams need to travel. And we've seen a lot of growth on the West Coast, but you are going to have those trips where you're going to Boston or Providence, Rhode Island, or New Jersey, that sort of thing. Talking about the recent losses, just how would you assess what some of those themes are, and how are you trying to overcome them? Or do you think it's more mental than it is tactics and strategy, or is there definitely,
I think there is. If I look at San Diego, the first game we lost away there was the third game, I think, and they were really good, and we flew there, and we had a few red cards the game before against Seattle, so we had a few suspensions. I think that was a mixture of early in the days, we played a really good team away, and playing a few new players that haven't played together. So that was, I can accept that, not accept, but I understand why we lost that game. I think the Louisville game was hard for me to accept. And there was a 3-game week, though, when we were in Chicago a few days before that. So I think learning from that was probably that we should have stayed in Chicago and waited to Louisville trip and just been there for 4 days more, because I think we flew back and forth. So I think the second half in Louisville, we looked fatigued and the players didn't really look themselves. So I think it was connected to the time difference and the trips in between. But the last 2 games, I would say that's connected to moments in the game where we should have been scoring instead of considering. So Denver, you have a really good chance for Olivia Moultrie to score. We don't execute that, and then we are lazy when we're defending, and they are having a cross too easy out in the wide area. So tactically, we're looking at how we can defend our box better. I think we consider too many goals on crosses or box defending, basically. And
Yes.
I don't think it's only the backline problem, it's how we defend with the whole team. So we're looking at how Sophia and Olivia actually can press better or defend better to make sure they don't get down there. And I think away games, we probably get more fatigue because of the trips, because of the heat that's won in the last 2 games, but also kind of the time difference. I think we need to be even more connected to collective defense instead of going there and press high and gamble. So we need to be a little bit more like Washington Spirit in the beginning of the season, where we were kind of more compact and waited for the chance instead of just going for it. So I'm learning that you probably need to adapt in the away games. You probably need to adapt depending on who you play against and the weather and the altitude, and it's a lot of things. But we will learn. I hope now when we go to Utah, it's going to be 100 degrees, I think, in that game, so that we can be really sharp in what we're doing and also accept that some parts of the game we just need to manage them, and then we have the super players who can score and win that game for us. But that's one of the big things we're working on right now. How can we look better away?
Love that answer, and love the prospect of looking better away. In terms of our roster now, I know you kind of inherited the roster, and you're working with players and positions that you didn't design it or build it. Tell us a little bit about how it is working with the GM and trying to figure out what does the Thorns of the future look like, and what are some of those roles or positions or characteristics of players that you're keeping an eye out for?
Yeah. I think like working with Jeff, and basically Jeff with the team, because we have a technical director in Mike Norris, we have a head of recruitment in Mark Carr, we have Carlos, who is the head of personnel. We are a team looking at recruitment. We very much looking at my way of playing, which is now connected to how you want to play football, and we want to make sure we can find the right characters, not only footballers, but also the personalities, to make sure we can play this style. I think when we look at that, it's not only the best footballers, they need to want to play for Portland Thorns. They want to make sure they can have a character that also makes sure that you feel like that's a good character for this club. The roster we have I've been using it, and I've been trying to find ways to play quite many players to see who is the right fit for everything. One good example is Petra Tordin, who's kind of played back and forth last season, and I just felt like, wow, she's such a good footballer. She's best in the 9 position, but she's competing with Sophia Wilson. Then it's my job to find a way to play both. And I think she's adapting very well to her new position, and she can still play 9. So I'm trying to figure out the key players right now to make sure we can build the team around them. And then we're going to make sure when we recruit more and more upcoming, like Nina is one of those. She's 23. She's an upcoming national player, but we put a lot of money into that investment because we think she quickly can adapt and be a fan favorite, because she's very technical. She's very like a running midfielder who can dominate that midfield with Jessie Fleming. So every time we recruit somebody, it's through very heavy work with scouting. And why every time we have an exit of a player is because they probably don't fit the way we want to play, or they're not really happy with their situation. So I think we need to accept that some people want to leave. I think Mimi, who went to Canada now, was perfectly a good exit because she didn't want to play as a winger, and she cannot beat Olivia Moultrie in the position she wanted to do. And then it's a kind of national team is in wrong position. So we're not afraid to do that, but we need to make sure we grow stronger, because you can look at some teams in the league, they are investing a lot in the right players as well. So we don't want to be just a young team that are talented. We want to win. So we need to find the right balance. But Jeff and the team is doing an amazing work to put up good players on the table. And I just say, like, that's a good player, let's go for that. And then we try to sign those players.
Can you tell us anything about Sophia Wilson's contract coming up? It's just us. It's just us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the good thing is with Jesse Fleming and Peter, who have signed, that's some really good signings. And I think when you see that those players want to stay, it shows that we're building something, right? And obviously, Sophia is not only Sophia, she has Gigi, she has her husband, she has, so with all the respect of her family situation and not stressing that, we had some really good talks with her. And I think we are very hopeful that that's going to happen. But I'm also showing a lot of respect because I have my family lived for a few months in Sweden. So I also know that you cannot just rush those decisions. But I think you can see that she's shining when she's playing and she's performing and she's happy. So it's more like we just need to give her the right time to sign that contract. But I'm hopeful, but let's see.
No pressure. No pressure, Sophia. No pressure. I want to pivot a little bit to us and talking about supporters, because we don't care just about winning. We want to win. We certainly do, but we also care about culture and how the players are being treated. And that's very important to us, especially over the past few years and everything that we've been through with the club and things like that. What are some of the cultural identities that you hope to maintain with the club, and maybe what are you hoping to grow or build within the club when people are thinking about the Portland Thorns, not just championships, but what's that culture?
I think it's there's a few clubs in the world that I've seen who is having some kind of bond with the fans. I'm not sure if you're familiar with St. Pauli in Germany. I've been to a few of those games, and they lost 4-0 one game, and the fans were standing 10 minutes after the game and celebrating their players. And we haven't lost yet, so I haven't seen you celebrate with us. But I used to aware that when you're standing there after every game, we feel like you have our back, even if we don't win a game or have a draw. I think this is rare. It's not too often it happens. And I think what I mean with that is that I want the players that respect that. I want to be with that. So like Bella Brixby is a really good person to speak about that. I speak a lot with her about the history because I want to learn more and more. And she gives me so much good inputs on what these players did. I met Becky Sauerbraun a few times now to make sure I get more and more info from the history, because I don't have the history, but I want to use the history for what we are doing. Sometimes I feel like we maybe forget to educate the players we have about the history, because it's a big important thing. But what I do think is that when I signed for this club, they asked me how is my identity to play. I said it's how I want to play, how the players can play, and how this club want to play. It's you guys, how we are going to make sure that three of us is together, and we don't play Robert way, we don't play the player way, we play the Portland Thorns way, which is your way. And I think that the main thing with that is that I want to leave this club in the end where I feel like I didn't win, we won. And I think that's the most important thing, that I want to feel like we are doing it together. We're playing a certain style together. We're winning together. We're losing together. And I want the players to feel like it means more than just their own career. How I do that is about passion, about professionality, and being brave in the situations you want them to be brave. But it's going to take time before young people learn how it is to actually respect the fan group. But I think we have some really good role models in Bella, for example, and Olivia has been here for 5 years already, right? 6 years.
Grizzled veteran.
Yeah, so she's 20, the silver veteran, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but we try to use that and also bring back the history of the club. It's very important to me.
Yeah. Along those same lines, what do you think supporters have the right to demand of the team and from you as a head coach?
First of all, I think you can demand that we should always turn up and do our best and make sure we do it to the end. I think you can also expect us to to respect you in a way where we also need to make sure we do everything we can to find ways to win, even if we don't win. I think you can demand as well that you can be hard on us if we don't win, if we don't have a performance. We are in this environment to perform, and if we don't do that, you have the right to feel or think that, as long as we also know that we like each other and that we want to work longer. But I think you have the respect from me to do that, and I think you can always respect us to come back from a loss. That's what we speak about a lot. We don't want to be like this team who just fall down and we become angry and we point finger at each other. We want to make sure we go to ourselves. So that's why I'm really happy to stop those 2 games losing. And okay, it was a draw, but it was a good performance. And I want to be a team that comes back from that. And you should expect us to come back from that. I'm aware of the history and some bad years around culture in this club. And I think that it's so easy you go back to that kind of pointing at others. And I think that's important that you demand from us to not go back to that point, that actually we take this club forward.
That was. How would you suggest that supporters demand those things? I think we've run into a lot of issues in the past with, we've tried our tactics or our route, but we want to really start with a clean slate and figure out how do we develop trust and better communication with not only you, but with the players, with the club, that sort of thing. Do you have any examples or any ideas for how the public, the supporters, can try to do that, to hold some accountability?
I think, and I'm going to look at you, Matt, but I've been sometimes where you can have these kind of meetings more frequently, and actually have for the players as well, where you come with concrete questions. Social media is not the best platform to express your negativity, to be honest, because you read it in one way, you don't really know if it's that you mean. So I would say, if you do that. I don't really want to read the social media comments. I rather want to have a communication. So I would say, like, every once in a while, I would think we should invite you out to the training facility, or we should come down to you and we should have those questions where we can, ask exactly what you want, and we will be as honest as possible. I think you can expect us to be honest as well. But I also think that it's okay in the game that you are upset, but I've been in teams where they, like make bad noise in the end of the game because we're losing, and I think you have the full right to do that, but I don't think it's going to help so much. I think it's more like, it's probably better to have these concrete questions or feedbacks where we can have discussions. I had like a conflict management course when I was a teacher, and I kind of like learned so much from listening to the other part and take that in instead of just going in not listening. So if you can fix that, Matt, I think it's good for the players as well.
And it's fair, when we have our facility opening near the cellar, you always something the growing part, but
Yeah.
how do I was most of like so well you got that tempo.
I think the players will like that as well, and that's a good way to build this band that we want to have. So yeah.
So one more question about just, I guess, when we are in a bit of a losing period. Wondering, when the team goes through difficult stretches, what are you saying or doing with the team versus what you're maybe saying in a press conference? How are you approaching it a little bit different? Because we know that there are two sides to that.
I would never ever speak bad about a player in press conference. I don't think that's the right way to do it. But we are very concrete in the feedback to the team, very direct. We show the goals, we show what we need to do more of. We are quite demanding on if somebody's doing wrong action, but we also encourage them to show the good clips that we need to do more of. And I think I'm trying to reach each individual in a different way. So I think Liv is one character where you need to, when you get to know her, you probably need to reach her in a different way in a room where you speak just to her. While some players like it to get in a big room where you say it. And then we obviously practice what we are not doing good, and then we practice what we are doing good. And I think you solve some issues, and then you come to the next game, and then you find new issues. So Denver was one of those things. We had so much talks about how can we end the first half and the second half in a good way. And then we came to the Denver game, and they added 9 more minutes in the first half. All of a sudden, it was not only 5 minutes, it was 40 minutes we should defend because we were not good in those phases. So we are trying, but sometimes I also realize it takes more time than I expected. But we are quite demanding behind the camera. We are quite direct feedback with the players, but also showing them that we care and that we are trying to push them to get better. And obviously coaching stuff. We look at our game plan. What did we do? Team selection. To be honest, I do mistakes every week, and I think I need to make sure we are sharp enough to fix those issues and make sure we get better from them. So trying to self-reflect as well.
Sure, that's super healthy and a big leadership quality. What are some of the opportunities that the players have to take on leadership roles within either locker room or on the field? You've talked about the youth or the youngness, how young our team is.
Yeah.
How are you finding different opportunities for them to either take something on or step into that leadership role?
I mean, we're trying in different ways. We have used now that we are 3 captains. So Sam, Sophia Wilson is in that one, and Jesse Fleming, and they are 3 really good players, but also good characters. And none of them are maybe that Sam Coffey leader, but they are having their way of doing it. And I think they're finding ways right now to develop the leadership. To develop leaders, I'm trying to force them to be brave. So when I have a meeting like this, when I have a meeting every morning with the players, I'm just not saying what we're doing wrong, and always ask players to speak up in front of the group and make sure they dare to do that and say what they want to say. So I'm trying to force them to do that. This morning we had Shay Harvey having her speech about her life for 5 minutes. So I forced them to come up and speak about their life to make sure they grow with their matureness and also their bravery to speak in front of the group. So we try and do different things to make sure they are more present to be leaders. But overall, it's also about timing and see who can become the new leader. I mean, the most normal would be to sign a new Sam Coffey, but it's very hard to sign a new Sam Coffey. So someone else needs to grow into that role. And we are in that phase where we see people trying to do that. We're trying to help them, but it's going to take more time. But I think we are getting there. It's just more like they will not be Sam Coffey. They will be different leaders.
Yeah, there is only one Sam Coffey. And we were so fortunate to have her for as long as we did. To talk about young players again, when or will we see academy players get minutes with the senior team?
This is a tricky one because in academy in Europe, you can bring that academy player up for the next game and play that player. And that's a very easy way in Europe to do that. But in this league, you're not allowed to do it because you have 26 spots and then the academy is a separate thing. So to make sure you can bring one up is that when you actually can give them a pro contract. So I can tell you that we already have one academy player that could definitely play. So then it's more like the right timing to get that contract and that situation. And in the US, you have the college situation as well. So some academy players want to go there before they come up. But I can promise you, I've seen a few in training from the academy that I could easily have in the roster in games already now. So I'm very happy with that kind of future players we have there. So it's a matter of time. It's not a long time if you ask me. It's more like all these American rules around the roster and the academy. But we're getting there.
There's been a lot of reasons for the rules as well. So the collective bargaining agreement is both a blessing and sometimes red tape, right? So folks, I just have one more question and then I'm going to stand up and pass the microphone around to others. But I was hoping you might be able to lay out a roadmap for what's it going to take for us to stay in our position or even better so that we can make it to the playoffs and potentially make it to a championship and maybe win a championship this year.
No, that's a good question. I mean, that's the question we speak about every morning, to be honest. I think when I signed and just flew into that first game, I had no idea, are we good? Can we compete? And then we won the first game and the second game and this is easy. But then you came to these games where I feel like it's a tough league. Even then we're away. It's not like you just go there and win. It's a tough game. And I think right now we have in the right moments we can win or we actually are winning any game. So that's good. But we are still too inconsistent in the games to say that we will win this year. So I think if we can get more consistency in how we defend, because we score goals all the time and we will score goals all the time in different ways, then we can win already this year. The question is if we can fix it as soon as possible with this tight schedule and everything. But I'm quite sure that if it doesn't happen this year, we will have everything in place for next season to go for it. But I think we can go for it this year, but it's more like the finding the right structure and make sure we get that flow again. We need that flow in how we defend together. Individually, we are still finding the right place to play center backs and full backs. But if we do it together, I think we can absolutely play off, absolutely. And when you come to the playoff, we just need to make sure we are quite good at dictating the games in different ways.
So I heard home playoff, and we're going to make it to the final because we're going to figure out how to be consistent.
Yeah, that's my absolute aim. So I'm with you there.
I love it. I love it.
I'm with you there.
Okay, who's got a question? Oh, okay. Fake me out. Come on.
Oh,
Oh, careful.
sound for it.
Hi. So I'm curious on the defensive side, what you were just talking about. You can argue that defenses are driven by emotion and commitment by the players, or you can argue that it's discipline and positioning. So which is it, and which are we not doing now?
Exactly.
I think when we consider goals, it's in momentum of the games when we have a tough time. So I think it's more in those moments we are mentally not doing the right things. And that's probably a combination of fatigue. Maybe it's also a problem because we play some really good players sometimes. I think when Chawinga is taking the run, I mean, I don't think you will stop her. But the problem is that we don't do the collective part like we want to do. So, and it starts from the strikers. So when we consider goals against Denver, it's not the fullback's fault from the beginning. It's how we make them get to that point. We don't want them to be 1-against-1 in that situation. So I think it comes down to what we do when we lose the momentum in the games. I think we then lose the quality of taking the right decisions. And when you don't take the right decisions, you give them the advantage to take that cross, to take that shot, and then they score a goal. So we try to make sure we are more focused in those moments. We try to make sure we know what to do and execute those moments, because all the players we have is top class. They can do it, but they fail to do it because of a few situations in that. So I would say the mental part is something, and we need to be stronger there. And then you come back to leadership. So who on the pitch can solve it? How can I solve it better from the sideline? And I think sometimes Denver away, we didn't solve it the last 9 minutes extra time. And that was not because of bad footballers. It was because of the momentum of the game changed and we couldn't handle the right decisions in those moments.
Who's next? All right.
Good.
Thanks for doing this. This is great. I noticed at the last press conference, Morgan Weaver said that sometimes in the locker room they coach each other. And I just thought that was amazing, where they're trying to solve things themselves and discussing it. Was that part of your style, or is that something that they'd done before? It seemed new.
Yeah, but we're trying to. So halftime we have a routine where we spoke about developing leaders. So every time in halftime, I wait to go into the players. So the first 4 or 5 minutes in halftime, take stuff, meet and see clips from halftime. And then Sophia, Jesse Fleming and Shai is my rocks to make sure the conversation in that room is on a good level, but they speak about what's happening in the first half. And then when I come in, I ask them, what have you spoken about? So that's my way of trying to get their opinion and their view on it. Hopefully it's the same with that we want to approach. And if it is not, then I just need to quickly address if that's something to, embrace really much or a little bit more. But I'm trying to make them a part of it, because I feel like it's also much stronger when you win or lose that they feel like they were a part of it instead of they just trying to solve and please me. So in this long run, that's what we want to create. And I think that's what I speak about during a game. I cannot scream when you are shouting at us. They don't hear me. They need to find ways on the pitch. So then you need those leaders. And I think Morgan Weaver is a good example of something that we get back now with the leadership. She seems really mature and experienced, but also saying the right stuff with energy. So I like that she said that. That's good.
All right. Here we go.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about adaptability and, is that a question of coming into every game with a brand new game plan based on the opponent and the context, or is it more about having a single system that just flexes in different directions, or maybe something else?
Yeah, so you will never see us change formation or adapt in that way, but I think basically decision making you can take that we can control. So when you play away games, we play on grass most of the games, and if it's very hot, the grass is very dry. So if you want to play more of the build up in short passes, you have a higher risk to lose it because it's not having the same pace of the ball. So sometimes we adapt in the beginning of the game away to go more direct, to play more in behind their back line to make sure we don't have that risk in the build up. Sometimes we choose to, in momentum, to more like stay together because we feel like we are fatigued and then we don't press as high as we want to do. So we kind of adapting if we do something or if we wait with it instead of, so we don't change like tactics, but we maybe prioritize different things. Goal kicks could be a thing where Mac push the team up and we kick a long goal kick to make sure that we are breathing a little bit more and make sure that. So it's more like we call it managing the game and make sure we can choose the right things during that game. And I think for me, I'm learning from the away games that it's complicated, and I think it's you never know what you come to. So Boston and Utah is two different pitches, two different weather, different time zones. So even if you have a plan, you probably need to readapt that plan as well. But we're trying to be much better in a way to win the game away. At home, you will not see too much changes. I mean, we go all in on our games because we think we should dominate every game at home. But we are not there where we can dominate each game away. Then I would be stupid if I just tell them to keep doing the same mistake. But sometimes we do new mistakes. So that's the journey we do, right? So I'm trying to help them to take the right decisions away more.
Who's next? Richard again.
Um,
All right, watch out.
So you've been here 6 months, about?
Yeah, not even that, I think. I came in March, so what is that? It's
5 months. Okay.
yeah.
So in Portland, what's better, the coffee, the beer, or the food?
It's a good question. I'm surprised when you are in Europe, in Sweden, you don't speak so well about the American food and beer, but I'm so, every restaurant we go to is different here, but it's so good. The beer, the local beer, I always go for local beer if I can. I love it. The coffee is obviously, I'm a boring one. I just take the drip coffee, the brewed coffee, but I enjoy that as well. So I cannot choose there. Coffee in the morning, food in the day, beer in the evening. Yeah.
what?
We got plenty of time for more questions. Come on.
Hi, Coach. Welcome to Portland. Thanks for doing this. Hope when we had the break, you had a chance to get out and see some of Oregon. I'm looking at the sign behind you, the TIFO behind you. And it really makes me think about how much this game is more than just the game to all of us here and to so many people in the stands. And, just that sense of belonging, that sense of acceptance that we all have when we're there. And I'm curious if you were aware of how much more that means to the people of Portland before you came, if you were aware of that part of our culture and how you feel about that as a coach. I mean, I know you're mainly focused on the game. But...
Yeah, no, but I can honestly say that I was not aware of how much it means in a way of these questions. When I came into the women's game, I was a very big educator of gender equity. So I was kind of like driving that journey in Sweden and in England, speaking about gender equity, about gender, and make sure everybody have the same right to perform and get the same education and be able to play in the big stadiums and everything. But when I came here and I saw all this community, obviously the owners and Jeff, when I had my interview, spoke about some questions were about the community that we have, and they educated me, and I was like, I want to do that. And I felt like that's something I stand for, because I feel like every people's right is something we should, and I really like that one. We need to protect. I mean, obviously we need to do that, and this world is so cruel everywhere, I think, so we need to make sure we do that. And I think football is fun, but I do think leadership and community is more fun than football, to be honest. So I'm using football to enjoy my work and being better as a leader and supporting you guys. And I think for me, I stand for that as well, which means that it's helping my players. I have twins, one daughter, one son. They can be whatever they want to be when they grow up. And I think that's important for them to see that I represent you guys. So I wasn't aware, but I'm very I'm very happy that you are here, and I think it makes me even more proud that it means more than just winning and losing, even if I obviously want to win as well.
Hi, mine's not really a question. It's just a comment that I heard Sam Kerr make at the interview that she had at the game that they just played. And she said, "Oh, we were just awful. That was just an awful game. We didn't need to do better." And I'm thinking, wait, that was kind of a tough game. That was kind of a matched game. What does she mean about this? I think maybe we need to up the rivalry between them and us, because I don't.
No, I like that.
I just think that that's kind of dissing us. That's what I thought.
But I think that shows as well where like they think that they had a tough day, but we show them that we are better than them in the right ways, right? So good comment. I'm going to use that to the next game we play them as well. That's good.
All right. Anyone else? We've got enough time for a couple more questions if folks have them.
Yeah. What do you wish fans knew or understood about the work that happens behind the scenes in practice, the players, what they're doing, what you're putting together as a team?
That's a very good question. I think you obviously see Sophia Wilson and Olivia Moultrie in these players most of the time. There is 26 players, and there's a few or quite many of them who are very talented, very like sharp, very emotional. They train very hard every week, and I don't pick them, and they not play in front of you guys, and they work so hard, and they like worked for so many years. And I think for you to know that there is so many people who want to represent this club, but it's only so few who can do it. And I think once again, if we can take them to the training ground sometimes as well to get to know Maddie Podolsky or to get to know Shea Harvey, because these players are such a good role models for what you're doing. And I think they don't get the scene because I don't pick them, because this is such a hard competition. But I think it's such a more players that you will enjoy in the future, hopefully. And also staff members. You probably see me and you see Matt and you see Jeff. There's so many staff members in different ways that are doing this. I think you know Sarah Loden, for example, who've done amazing work and kind of like helped me so much with us. It is so many people behind the club. And I hope you know that, but I don't think if you know all of them, but I think when you know them, I think we need to make sure we connect with them as well, because I think they deserve to meet you and you deserve to meet them. So that's probably the biggest answer there.
I know we're all really excited to have Morgan Weaver back, but some of us are also really big fans of Kaya Hanks. And can you tell us anything about her status?
Maybe I can, Matt, can I give them a little bit more, like a little bit of sleep? So she's taking another big step yesterday in her rehab. So she will enter full training this week in a manner. It's like we don't gonna go crazy the first days, but she's actually gonna play for 11-11 this week, and she's gonna travel with us to Utah in her process to get back. So if everything goes well from this step, it's actually just a matter of time before she can now be picked in the roster, and she looks amazing in training. She looks so good. Yeah.
Anyone else? Or else we'll just go with whatever pops into my brain. There we go, Alex.
So the team recently signed a new midfielder. What was it about her game that drew your guys' attention, and what do you kind of envision her role in the team to be going forward?
You just repeat the first sentence. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. The team just signed a new midfielder.
Okay, Nina. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with Nina, this is.
Oh no. Oh no. I don't know what happened. Where's Stefan?
I will stand.
Okay, sorry about that.
I felt low there. When I came, we spoke about the GM and the recruitment. Nina was on the list of signings of that team in a long time. They've scouted her for a year, and I know about her because most clubs in Europe have had her on the list. So when we watch even more now, what we kind of lacked when we didn't get Sam Coffey to stay was something that can help Jessie Fleming. I think Cassandra has done amazing work to do that, what she's doing, but she's 20 years old, coming from Norway. It was never expected for her to play every game, every minute. She was coming to compete, but also make sure we cannot just make her carry that role on her own. And I think when Nina now come available, and she really wanted to play for Portland, that was the biggest thing. She was really, really wanted to come to Portland and not the other clubs in Europe. That made us even more convinced that we're going to go for her now. What you can expect from her is a very technical midfielder. She's more of an attacking than defending midfielder. So Jessie Fleming need to step up even more to defend as well. But they're going to make sure that they can have a really good collaboration. And then you have Cassandra and Shay who can basically cover that as well. We're going to have good options. But I think Nina is a Dutch national team player with intelligence and her touch. You're gonna like her. I can promise you that. Thank you.
All right. I think we're getting towards the end. Anybody else? What's been your favorite restaurant or bar experience in Portland so far? What's your kind of highlight that
My
you tell people
highlight?
about back at home?
Yeah, I think last week we went my family's here, and we went doing rafting at White Salmon. That was a really cool experience, and I think my kids are turning 16 and they loved it. My wife was in the boat. She was quite scared, but she did the last one as well. So we did it as a family, and I think that was one of the highlights because the nature is amazing. And then you can do that 1 hour away just to drive and do that. That was pretty cool. But to be honest, I enjoy every time I try a new restaurant because there's so many good different restaurants, and I think it's a really cool place, to be honest. I never heard about Portland before, but it's a cool place.
Well, we are so happy to have you and so appreciative of this event, and for you to be willing to kind of get potentially grilled, but we're friendly right now. But we would love to have you back and figure out some sort of exchange program where we go out to the training center and you guys come here. But yeah, if you want to stick around for a few minutes, maybe some folks were shy and didn't want to say a question in front of everybody, and maybe we get you another beer or a water or something like that.
Let's go for it.
But thank you
Thank you so much.
Thank you.